its presence or impact would be felt even in rural areas. And I think with this little, that is why I said I'm just going to talk based on some practical things, not really academic, and maybe in the course of discussions and information sharing, we'll be able to add more. Thank you for your audience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tahir Jabbar Usman, for this very wonderful presentation. Our problem with academics, university don't, even if they don't intend to be academic in the presentations, they subconsciously meander into parameters, academic parameters, and they end up quoting laws and relevant, what do you call them, mechanisms, international instruments, and their lives. And I'm sure, much as he tried not to be academic, his academic tendencies, I'm sure, will not adulterate our absorption of what he has said. He has said considerably meaningful things, which I'm sure will enrich our horizon, understanding of the dynamics of fighting corruption. Interestingly, he made mention of the appreciation of the role of civil groups, even by international mechanisms, that for any state to adequately fight corruption, they must involve the civil society structures. And interestingly, he went on to mention that in Nigeria, all the anti-corruption agencies, particularly the EFCC and the ICPC, do not have sufficient structures and personnel to execute or prosecute the war against corruption. And it will be interesting to hear the perspective of this agency. Interestingly, Kano State Public Complaints and the Anti-Corruption Commission has structures all over the state. But has that translated really into fighting corruption, reducing the scale of corruption in Kano? I think it will be interesting to challenge the representative of the Public Complaints and the Anti-Corruption Commission, and whether or not we will be able to take up this theory enunciated by the doctor, that the preponderance of structures spread all over the place will automatically translate in the reduction of the scale of corruption in the society. Kano State is a good example, with 46 functional offices spread across the 44 local governments. Has that really translated in the reduction of the scale of corruption in Kano? Well, let's take the views of the participants, after which we will invite the respective representative of these anti-corruption agencies to respond to the issues raised by Dr. Jafar, as well as the issues that may likely be raised by the participants. The floor is now open for contribution from the floor. You are part of the agency. You are even the civil. Okay, or prepare yourself to take on the civil defense on issues of corruption. If you have issues of corruption with civil defense, raise them, because they have represented here. If at the end of the day you have no problem with civil defense might be able to have problems with you. The chairman of the Kano Civil Society Forum, Alain Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, my name once again is Mumbayya, representing the Kano Civil Society Forum. Let me start by congratulating you, because quite good. I'm very articulated presentation, and I'm very glad about that. Even though we're trying to be a bit academic, but we really appreciate that you're still part of us, within our family as a civil society activist. Before I read some of my comments and observations with regards to other anti-corruption agencies. Let me start by what really touched me so directly as a civil society activist. The issue of regulation of the NGOs in Nigeria and the civil society organizations. Right, specific things that must be in place. And one thing that is very funny about the whole thing is sometimes even the name, if you see for a name from CAC, for registration, that is for availability, sometimes they used to even dictate the name for you. And that really tends to be one of the mechanisms, maybe an instrument in place impliedly of regulating. And another thing again, it is required of a standard practice of NGO, certain staffing, or a minimum number of staffing is required as far as the operation of the NGOs is concerned, where even donations cannot really be received by some donor organizations as far as an NGO is concerned until certain things are in place in that organizations. That tells you about mechanism of also probably providing way of improving accountability mechanism. But clearly, I know there's not any federal law which specifically say that it is the way how donor organizations and also maybe the local organizations operate. But the problem is that it is, I think, the fault of the federal government, because ideally what is provided by all donor organizations wanting to come to this country is just only to register their own presence with the budget and planning ministry and to tell them this is what they have come to do. But if you can look at the way how they operate, there is not any boundaries and probably regulations as far as their own activities in Nigeria is concerned. And sometimes they even tend to deviate from actually their own actual mission, and probably sometimes even in their own modus operandi, they tend to sometimes deviate, because some of the problem we're now facing is that an NGO or maybe a donor organization based in Abuja ideally should be relating with a local organization like based in Kano and probably providing a funding support when it comes to undertaking some activities. But the problem is that they are now establishing their own offices even at the local level, and they are now the one executing even the same kind of activities they have designed to do. So in a way, they have taken over everything. All we do here as NGOs most of the time is just only for you to be used in making content, networking with other civil society organizations, mobilizing participants in the program for them, and they will be the one to do everything. Even paying the stipend and transfer money, they will be the one to do it. So in a way, you can say the whole thing lies on the federal government and probably maybe some of the state government who really tend to be very ignorant about the way how things are. And sometimes the way how some of our governments, and I mean our leaders, political leaders, I don't know the kind of special attention they accord to people that come from outside the country. When they say this is somebody from an organization from outside the country, DFI, this and that, the kind of attention they provide to them, I mean they give to them is quite really amazing and quite really different from the kind of attention they really give to local organizations. And another thing again, it is a failure of our government that they feel that some of these donor organizations that bring money into Nigeria in form of assistance or supporting certain things, it is a money collected in pieces through donations by some governments like EU. It is a government money. Some of the government European countries, they contribute this money in form of this EU fund and they provide support. But our government failed to see the need to be providing this kind of support to local organizations to undertake activities and projects of citizen development. So that is actually some of the challenges actually we're facing later. But I think maybe we can go on advocating for that, maybe to have a specific instrument of law that can do that. Coming to the anti-graft agencies, we consider their own problems too enormous. I always say in a forum like this, some forum like this, that problem with them is that they tend to be politicizing their own businesses most of the time. If you look at the EFCC now, we've been all the time trying to engage them, but they tend to be very secretive. Mara Idris here is a living witness. We had an interface with the EFCC chairman Ibrahim Abu about 2-3 times with pledges to engage the civil society organizations. We come up with so many number of framework on how citizens will be engaged in the whole thing, but they refuse to engage the civil society. They tend to be very secretive. Just yesterday on Network News, I was watching Ibrahim Abu. He was parading some of the impounded counts who were considered to be a process of corruption in Nigeria. But he was just only saying that they're going to auction them, this and that. But ideally, before even going to that extent, you should really have an inventory to make it public to the people that these are the kind of cars, or these are the number of the cars impounded in so-so or within so-so period of time. This is your own brand, and this is the estimated value of that. People should be involved in the whole process. But the way how he was talking, he was telling the people that they will not be auctioning them until maybe they will reach maybe something like the whole original value of 40 or 50%. Why do you put all this extent of trying to involve yourself in all these kind of things? And I challenge the EFCs and any anti-corruption agencies. So now, I have never heard of time EFCC coming to tell the public that from social period to social period, this is the amount of the money they have recovered from the looters. Nothing has ever happened like that. So they tend to be very secretive, honestly speaking, and there are still governors who are still under trial, who served 1999, 2003, to date they are still under trial. People like Ojo Ozukalu, they are still on trial. Murtala Nyaku, they are still under trial for 17, 18 years, 19, 60, 15 years. Then how long will the trial be there? For how long will it end, honestly speaking? So, honestly speaking, they really need to be very serious about it. If really we are to fight corruption, it has to be serious, and we really have to fight it with all seriousness. And they tend to concentrate the whole thing at the center. EFCC and what I can really appreciate and commend the effort of the ICPC this time around, because they tend to involve the civil society organizations, especially now in the monitoring of the constituency project that has already been executed by some senators. They involve civil society organizations across the state, everywhere, and they are going there, monitoring them, assessing the level of their own performance, and everything. That is a very wonderful thing, but we have never seen a situation where EFCC doing this kind of things. So we try to force ourselves into them. We went to them many times. EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Bobu, I kept on talking to him. He asked me to come to Abuja. We presented this. This is the way how the engagement should be within at least the Northwest. But yet, nothing has ever been done, except only talking on media, honestly. So the whole of the corruption or anti-corruption saga is most of the time on media. It's just only trying to do, I think like maybe self-esteem promotion. That is really, honestly speaking, how I consider it to be. Citizens need to be involved in the process. The anti-corrupt agencies have a duty to tell the people that you are the one that are the major stakeholders. You really need to be involved. Agencies like EFCC, ICPC, they cannot fight corruption in Nigeria alone. Honestly speaking, they cannot do that. How many of them? Doctor was telling about, he was highlighting on the issue of their own staff strengths and the rest of it. With the volume of the looters we have in Nigeria, since its birth, 1960, there are still people who are still alive since 1960, and they were all involved in fraudulent things. So definitely it's people that should take the lead. People should assume the role to be stakeholders and should also understand that. And another thing is not only fighting corruption, physical fighting corruption. You will have to set an agenda where you will discourage the culture of even glorifying the people, because what is happening, the most dangerous thing is that most of the young people are not developing this culture of glorifying the looters, and they are developing this also spirit of becoming rich overnight, and that has not really been true, and it's a very dangerous thing, and nothing is going to change if something is not done about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Brian, we are Chairman Kano Civil Society for. No, there will be more issues, Doctor. I want to take Doctor to task as much as possible. So let's have some other, Madam Amelia can say. It's our mentor and has been our inspiration for many, many years in this struggle. So it's good to hear from him. Madam Amelia Brian, I can say from.
Assalamu alaikum. I most appreciate the effort of the Minister of Justice to gather this group of people, this office. And the issue at stake is very fundamental. When you are talking of good governance and corruption, and the two are in conflict with themselves. You cannot have good governance without sincere effort on the part of the majority of our people in the leadership to be sincere in themselves, the choice of leaders. As it is now, the process of good governance is elusive, to be honest. We have been in democracy for 20 years consistently now. Or to me, we have been in civil rule for 20 years. Because the only issue semblance of democracy is the election. It's the election, which is in most cases doubtful and questionable, despite the clean card that is being awarded to the winners. This is very serious. And now, like previously, when the struggle against all sorts of ills in the society is manifest, when people of value are in charge of our affairs. The question is between Mulukia and Demokratia. And now, essentially, the whole system is working towards Mulukia. Because even the democracy or the civil rule is being looked at hereditary. X this will still be X his brother, X his son, X his daughter. Of course, the political parties are to be blamed because they filled all sorts of characters and mostly doubtful for primary election. And the role of the NGOs and the civil organization is essentially inconsequential because they find their way, they do what they want, and they get what they want. Nobody is questioning anything, as long as it serves them better. It's a collection of birds who feather their nests for our common team, for our common matrimony. And it doesn't change. You cannot find corruption where we are promoting corruption. The issue, just look at one clause. During the 1979 Constitution, there was this issue of party crossing. If you cross into any other party, you will have to lose your seat. That's how when you lost your seat and lost the governorship election when you went to NPP from PRP. And now it is more often than not that politicians at all levels move to wherever they think they will get better chance of getting what they want. And nobody says no. I think the NGOs, the CBOs have a very fundamental role to play in terms of promoting individual credibility for political causes. That is very pertinent and necessary. And it is only in Nigeria, the presence of the agency, EFCC, IPCC, and the other state-level agencies is very important and is a kudu, to be honest, because whether they do what is right now or they don't, but the fact that they exist one day, their mandate will be manifest and will be actualized. That is our hope. One issue is that things get unpended. Probably cases are with EFCC or IFCC to eternity because they will never finish. Go to the Senate. Most of the people in the Senate have one thing or the other to answer. How they are cleared to sit to contest with us is questionable because they are supposed to be cleared in all parameters. Are they cleared? How do they come to the seat? How are the senators today? How are they in the House of Rep? These are very fundamental issues. And it's insulting us on our faces. So essentially, all the politicians who matter in Nigeria have become emperors. They do what they want, they detect how things will go, and how it will be implemented. Nobody questions them. The poor man is battling with this financial issue. It's so difficult for him because he needs a touchlight to lead him to the promised land. And the presence of the institutional agencies is not there. It's very, very thin on the ground. The involvement of the NGOs is questionable. In fact, NGOs are being interpreted as NGIs, non-governmental individuals, or NGFs, non-governmental families. They have, in fact, they need to be checked very seriously. How they source their funds, how they utilize their funds, what are their mandates? They are in every nook and corner, much more than the government agencies. Everything really, they say, is a surprise. I think the agencies, the institutional agencies will have to be cautious about the infiltration of NGOs into our societies. It's very, very important. It's very critical because they give large sum of salaries and allowances. So everybody is going to be partner at the NGO. They open here, they open there. What they do, how they do, and what is their mandate is what nobody asks. Nobody asks. Nobody asks. And as it is today, what is coming up in the social media and the other news, print and electronic media, is that the NGOs are a disability to development. If the resources of Nigeria cannot be used to develop Nigeria, I don't see how somebody elsewhere from somewhere will come and develop us, to be honest. And unfortunately, the consumption of government is that NGOs are replacement of government fundamental objectives of its people. Wherever an NGO, even if it is from the United Nations agencies, exists, the government will go comatose. They think it's a replacement. It's not a replacement, it's an augmentation. It's an augmentation. And there's no way United Nations agencies or any other agencies for that matter, or individual agencies from wherever countries they are, will replace government, Nigerian government or Nigerian state government. I think we have to be more alert to our responsibilities. Of course, the challenges are beyond finances. The challenges are beyond finances. And when we talk of corruption, we are always talking of finances. It goes beyond that. To deprive the larger majority of our populace from our basic rights is corruption. To deprive our children from decent school is corruption. To refuse to apply as it is the provision of the budget to actualize the needs and accomplishments of the people is corruption. But we look at it in unidirectional. Governor X has stolen this, Governor X has kept. He has not been brought before a law of competent jurisdiction before he is labeled a thief. That's what the most of them say. And they look, because they know how to avert the process of law. They know how to avert it. And they are still in charge of us. What a contradiction. I think we need to be updoing and do the right thing as it is demanded of us. That's very fundamental and important. I thank you very sincerely for this forum, and I believe that is a way forward, probably. The network of justice, much more than any NGO here. If you could gather us here, you have to key into collaborating, establishing critical relationship with the CBOs to address these fundamental issues. Because it's concerning us. Go to Kano, see the level of youth that are restless, they are a source of conflict, they are a source of instability. Doing nothing from morning to night. They are more keyed into drugs. And everybody knows who sells the drugs, how it is being sold. Is it not corruption? Even the agencies are not doing their job to cartel it. They are doing to a reasonable extent their best. But their best is not enough. And they cannot do it alone, like they keep on saying. They cannot do it alone. We have to save our youth. Any country who compromises youth is gone. It's gone for good and it will not recover. No matter the resources available, even if they are available. Thank you very much.
Okay, no, it's an agency. You should take it last. No, let's finish the participants, then we'll come to the institutions. The institutions.
Go on.
Yeah, Comrade Taylor.
Okay, my name is Comrade Taylor. I'm also very happy to be part of this gathering. But I would like to start by, since the man from the NOAA is here, my main problem is with the NOAA. Even though I could remember as chairman of Civil Society Forum was saying that on 3 occasions we were able to meet Ibrahim Mabu, and we discussed, even with the issue you raised about the staff. When we met at that time, I think they had only about 5,000 staffs within the nation. And then I told Mabu that we have 774 local government at this state. If you divide 5,000, it will be 6 staff per local government. And the states are even excluded. And we advise him to use volunteer as the police are using. So since Idris is here, I don't know whether they have engaged in that activity or not, because we think engaging volunteers will assist a lot to the organization deliver. And the reason why I said NOAA is here, and I'm happy that they are not doing their job. In fact, the EFCC and NOAA are supposed to collaborate, even though we raised that issue too, that Magu is fighting alone. what about the relevant agencies and other agencies that can aid his fight against corruption, which he's not using? And I can see from their pages, he started collaborating with some, but I haven't seen him going to NOAA, which the 90% of the work of educating citizens in the country is raised in the hands of National Orientation Agency. You see, a common man in Nigeria does not even know who he is, set aside helping in fighting corruption. And a lot of people are starved for their right. A worker will work for a complete month without having his salary. And you are telling that person not to steal, not to engage in corruption activities. Go to Kogi State, 39 months salary was owed to local government staffs. So how do you expect those people to put in their best and not to be corrupt? 39 months. What are the anti-corruption agencies doing? Are they not in Nigeria? Are they not aware that people's salary are held in so many states? Go to Ikiti. Before Kano they fired me, emerged a governor, 7 months salary was owed by the state and local government staffs in that state. How do you expect those people not to be corrupt? It's only here in Kano that we are happy, salaries were able to be paid, but don't talk of pensions. Because for the last 10 years, they've been battling with pension in Kano. Where are the anti-corruption agencies? Where are the EFCC? Where are the ICPC? So we need to go a spade. You understand? I don't know. This fight against corruption is, as my colleague said, is physical rather than psychological. We need to go into the psychology of people, and that is why NOAA is needed. You understand? People are not patriotic. It's your responsibility to tell people how to be patriotic. What is needed from you? What quota are you going to contribute towards the development of your society? Nobody knows. If only us here that are here. Now, if we are asked to go back to our home, let's search in our homes. If we didn't find a flag of Nigeria in your house, you'll be killed, including your children. All of us will be dead. Because common flag, Nigerian flag, we do not have. You are talking about patriotism, you don't even have a flag of your nation, which is the responsibility of NOAA. You understand? In fact, there was a time I was doing a radio program, I even begged Mr. President to sack all the members of staff of NOAA. Because they are not doing their job. Honestly, I'm sorry. Not because you are here. I've been saying this because we want, in fact, there was a time I even met, what do you call it? Your DG, National, I forgot his name. Abadi. It was here in this Mumbayya. You understand? I challenge him because even though civil society have a quota or a role to play, but these are agencies that are set aside for such job. They are being paid. Everything has been taken care for you to deliver. But he was telling us that he was staff of funding. Had it been they would engage the civil society, we will show them the way to even get the funding. There's what we call corporate social responsibility. If you meet MTN, you meet KEDCO, and so many, they can provide funds. There are international donor agencies that can support NOAA to deliver. But it's like the will is not there. And then the fight against corruption is not systematic. And in a country whereby you are experiencing an institutional decay, how do you think things will go on? Right. There is no way, because this is what Nigeria is experiencing now. It's an institutional decay. Every institution is decaying. My friend talked about since 1999, some governors and legislators are on trial. What about the lawyers? Is it not the sons, the ones you take a governor to the court, the whole son will come down and try to defend him? While he knows that, and as he's rightly said, that people are living beyond what they are earning. Is that not a justification for you to even run away, even if your service is needed? You run away from that person, but it is the son that will go and defend the governor. It's that still that make life miserable to people. It's the same legal system that is protecting them. So how are we going to prosper? We will come and sit down, make discussions so many times without having an impact, in as much as the institution are decaying. Nothing for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's have two more.
Let's have agenda 111.
If the woman is not willing,
I don't know. She's willing.
and the matter is not willing to go.
I think I'm more like a Nigerian this morning than ever.
Kindly.
Okay, I am Peter. I'm from Navy, like we did earlier in the introduction. Now, from everything we have all said now, from what I've picked, it boils down to something. How can we enforce or have a robust rule of law enforced? As a matter of fact, if you check onto the tenets of rule of law, is actually will continue to talk about corruption. Nobody should be above the law. If we have not been able to build a system that prevents corruption, and we're only talking about fighting it after it has come to be, then it's going to be difficult to stop corruption. So my question is, how do we now enforce the rule of law that nobody will be above the law? That is one of the points I'm raising. Then the second one is, how are other countries doing it? I think I've seen on social media on 1, 2, 3 occasions that even those that are serving, because law works, once you are caught there, you'll be asked to resign. They resign. And some of them that have even served before, we see them, especially the Asians, we see them being marched forward to be hanged. And others take it as deterrence, just because law works. So now my question is, robust rule of law will be a better solution to a fight to corruption than we allowing and building systems to prevent corruption is better than fighting corruptions when it's allowed to occur. So I'm saying it that engagement like this is very, very important, but we should also start seeing it from the perspective of building systems to prevent than coming out later to fight. At least we've been doing this for a long time now, and it has not really given us the desirable result. Can we do things differently? Because in the world now we talk about innovations, we talked about creativity, and the world is changing. So why can't we deviate a little and start seeing things from a different perspective, instead of doing the fight that we've been doing that has not really given us the result? So I am profiling the solution of we seeing how we can deliberate on coming up with how our rule of law will work, if it means deliberating and sending down back to the government who are the executors, and also how do we now prevent corruption from happening. If our gaze and attention is on that, I believe at the long run we might hit the nail than this fight. From what we have said, that is what I did. I just felt, let me not just go with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor. My observation is, most times when we talk, we don't talk about women, the role of women in this fight of corruption. Yes. I'm not apologizing for being a woman activist, because I know women can do a lot. We can go a long way to help in fighting corruption. Look at what the First Lady, during the last tenure, she came out boldly and said that some cliques have hijacked the government of the husband. And we did not take it serious. Nigerians started making jokes out of it. It was a clue. But what are we seeing? She's being relegated to the ground. She's not talking again. A lot of things are going wrong. If only we can empower women, women can help in fighting or checkmating corruption. There are some sincere women. There are women that are not. Women are materialistic, but yet there are some that are not, that have the interests of the nation at heart, because we know that this nation belongs, the future belongs to the youth, and we are the mothers of the youth. And if nothing works, our children will be the ones to suffer. So what am I saying? In a forum like this, we should be able to carry women along. And when we are giving thoughts on this kind of issues, we should try to bring in the role of women.
50 million naira every month for non-existent workers. And still now, that minister is a minister now. So this is a terrible situation we are in. But I'm appealing to the civil society. They are the only reliable to me. I'm saying to me because somebody may argue with what I'm saying, but to my own conception, they are the only institution now that will do whatever they can do, because most of the civil society people, members were doing it voluntarily, and I'm sure they were being called upon to be bribed, but some of them denied to collect anything relevant to that thing. So my own contribution is, let's collectively try to see what we can do to uplift the deteriorating situation of Nigeria. But to me, everybody here is in prisons, because we are in prisons, because anything you have, you are thinking that you have it, but you don't have it because it is not in your hand. It's not in your hand. It's just like a picture. So I'm advising the civil society to be reorganized so that, inshallah, we will attend to what we are trying to achieve, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these wonderful contributions. The chieftain of the representative of the donor coordinator of EFCC has some very serious commitment. He's been awaited somewhere else. So I will crave your indulgence to enable him respond to some of the issues raised, after which we take the responses from the lead presenter, then we go round, NOAA, Correctional Service, Kano State Anti-Corruption, Civil Defense, Customs, and the Kano State Government. I think that will be fair. So let us quickly have 3-5 minutes to take institutional responses from the EFCC.
Good morning once again. Let me start with Sanitela on staff strength. He said we should be employing volunteers, but unfortunately the laws that govern the EFCC do not allow that. We are only allowed to second officers from other agencies of government, like the police, the Ministry of Justice, and what have you, the CVN. So the law that governs that's the Establishment Act of the EFCC, do not allow us to seek for volunteers outside, just maybe like the police. And on the, probably, you can push that like the civil society did with the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. And on the engagement of civil society, unless you're bragging, you know we are trying. I'm not saying that we are doing enough, but we'll do better.
We pray for that.
And the issue of selective prosecution, that has been the issue since the inception of EFCC, that EFCC is being used to fight the opposition. But the thing that I want people to understand is, they are not saying that those we are prosecuting are innocent. Maybe we arrested somebody, his neighbor, maybe his relative. He will say, why me, why not that one? They are not saying that what we are doing or who we are prosecuting is innocent. They are only saying that we are fighting the opposition. Like this administration now is APC. The previous administration was PDP. So obviously if APC investigating previous administration, it has to be PDP, not APC. But I think that is just, let me not go to an extent of being political, because we are just law enforcement agent of government. And I think somebody talked about whistleblower. The issue of whistleblower is still on. The problem we had is that a lot of people, we had a lot of issues with people coming with false information or bogus information. Maybe I don't like my neighbor, and so, because after we displayed that Andrew Yakubu's money with the safe, we got a lot of information. Somebody will just see that type of safe in somebody's house, and he will just assume this money. So we had to come up with the provision that it's just like a law, a section of the Establishment Act that deals with false information. You will have to sign that form that in the event that you provide false information, you'll be prosecuted. So I think that somehow slows down the process we have. We are even prosecuting some in Maiduguri who provides false information based on that. So I think the whistleblower policy is slowed down because of maybe the false fear. The issue of delay in cases, as one of the participants, I think, have answered that question with the SAN being hired. And those SAN, I mean, they are specialists in delaying case. And the looters, when somebody stole 10 billion, maybe he can sideline 2 billion for litigation. Most of the SAN, I cannot confirm, but most of them, they don't even charge you until after the case is concluded. They charge you by percentage. But that is also their right. They are part of the process, the defense lawyers. You cannot prosecute somebody without a lawyer. That is part of the process, that is their right. And it's the law of the nation that allows it. There's nothing we can do about it. There's a case where I think one former governor of Enugu. The case, I think, up to like 3 years ago, the man has not been arraigned. Since 2007, after he left office. Yes. We have even secured the convictions of his companies, but he has not been arraigned because of one protocol. Yes, from the lawyers, they will bring this one, and then I think it was the State High Court case. There was the Administrative and Criminal Justice Act did not apply. They will come with this issue, you will go on, and the process will go up to appeal court, to Supreme Court. You will come back to the arraignment, they will come up with another, up to Supreme Court level. Up to the time I left Lagos, that man has not been arraigned. That was about 3 years ago. And I think up to today, I have not seen a report of his arraignment. So that is actually, it's part of the process. Maybe the law, maybe the constitution has to be amended, I don't know. But it's the process that allows them to hire defense lawyers. And they mostly hire good ones.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's not actually the EFCC that is delaying the case. And again, Senator talks about patriotism. Patriotism is very key to fighting corruption or whatever, to good governance, to make Nigeria great. The problem we have now is that lack of patriotism. In most of the, let me say, law enforcement agents or the legislators, every angle of section of the government. Some people just like, let me take example of the Nigerian police. Most of the people there, the question you will ask them maybe, why did you join the Nigerian police? Or why did you join the custom? Why did you join the EFCC? Maybe I'm looking for a job, I didn't get a better one. That will be the answer. Most of them. It's the lack of patriotism. They are not doing it for the country, they are just doing it to feed themselves, maybe feed their family. And that's unfortunately the situation of the country. Some people are looking for a job. They are not doing the law enforcement job to work for the country. Mostly they are just doing it to feed themselves. So I think until we revive the culture of patriotism in ourselves, maybe that's a step forward. And the issue of Dezani, as you talks about Dezani is not in Nigeria. She's facing another criminal money laundering charge in UK. That's why she's not back in the country. That's why all we are doing is going the civil case interim forfeiture to final forfeiture of our properties. Maybe one day she will return and face the consequences.
How about the loot?
Yes, we have.
They covered.
The look at it's about $40 million for jewelry alone, I mean. Yeah, it's part of it. It's part of the jewelry. The answer is, I think it was valued about $40 million, everything. Then we have got final forfeiture of our properties in Banana Island, in Abuja, what have you. Yes, we are working towards that. I think about some time ago, the chairman was talking about it. So we are working with the UK government on extradition. And on the issue of having people being under investigation and being appointed as ministers or being elected, I think what I would encourage the public is to take the ownership of the fight and stop electing them into office. Yes. That is just it. Because the law that we are working on did not provide that somebody who cannot contest for an election if he's under investigation. It's unfortunate. But
if you are going to be employed, in the form that you are going to fill, there is a clause that have you ever had any case or have you ever
been convicted? They are not convicted. They are not yet convicted. They are under investigation. It's an allegation, yes.
Before the election, sorry to say, I'm not being the APC was saying that they are not going to sell their form to anyone that has case with EFCC. Yes. But not denying, if some of them still find their way to the top.
So it's APC that's selling the form, not EFCC.
But they say they are not going to
sell a form to anybody that's being investigated by EFCC. Yes. It's not EFCC that said that they are not going to allow you to contest for an election if you have a case with them. It's not the, it's APC. It's APC that said they are not going to sell their form to anybody being investigated by EFCC, if I get you right. Yes. So EFCC cannot do anything about that. It's the APC that eventually they said and probably sell.
Don't you think that the APC will liaise with the EFCC?
That is an assumption. Don't you, I think, you think or you assume APC is working with EFCC? No. That's what you are saying. You say they are working together. That means that's what you mean.
I think the irony of the whole thing is being the chairman of the APC himself is also under investigation.
That's a contradiction of system.
That is exactly what I'm saying. You cannot, EFCC cannot stop somebody from contesting because he's under investigation. Because the law.
During the first election, I had it over and I saw him until he said anybody that has problem or has any case, they will not allow him to go and contest.
How?
I don't know for him. He said it.
Because no, what he said is I think the problem is from the parties that allowed all that eventually sold the forms to them. It's not the EFCC.
But they can stop it.
How can EFCC stop it? What I'm saying, we are working under the provisions of the law. The law did not allow us to stop anybody from contesting if he's under investigation. So even if personally we want to do it, personally, not as government, yes.
To be honest, even if he's convicted, the new Correctional Service Act 2019 signed by the President this July says even if one is convicted, the prison the correction authority has the power to give him certificate.
Then he has been corrected.
He has been corrected and continue with normal.
So you see another issue we are working on to solve the problem. This is another one.
We cannot
So the problem mostly is not with the agencies. It's not with the agencies. So that's another big problem now. I didn't even know about that. It's very unfortunate.
It's not unfortunate. And with that, you can compete any position. Yes. You can go to a new correctional act.
And somebody talks about the verification of NGOs, how they operate. I think recently I heard that some of them were suspended in June. And I think about a week, less than a week, I saw another report that they had been, they lift the ban on them. So yeah, I think we will key into that and see what the FCC can come up with, because they honestly need to be verified. Because I know about one NGO that pays, I think, the minimum of 200,000 or 250,000. I know somebody that's being paid for 400,000. He was given a government job and he refused. Because he was getting 400,000. I don't know what they are doing or how they are getting their money.
In Maiduguri now, they will go and rent house for 10 years.
Yes.
You cannot rent a small room now in Maiduguri less than 250,000 because the NGOs have spoiled everything. They will go and rent. A house of 250, they will give you 500 and they will pay for 10 years.
I think somebody mentioned the auctioning of EFCC properties. Yes, I think if you've been following our stories, we recently got a court order on some properties in Port Harcourt. I think it's the judicial process that we were supposed to auction it, tankers mostly. And we are also, we are trying to engage the services of developers to take maybe in the auction process. We are working towards dealing with that angle of properties. And the problem is that most of those properties, the case is in court. Maybe the suspect or the owner of the properties, the case is still ongoing in court. Like you say, the case of that started in 2007. Let's say it's still ongoing. Yes, we have cases that started in 2003 in EFCC. Cases that started in 2004. So if the case is still pending in court, EFCC cannot do anything about the properties until the case is concluded. And you also said that we are not disclosing the recoveries of EFCC. I think about less than 2 weeks ago, we also, during our budget defense, we disclosed how much we recovered from January to September. That is also feeding the public. No, that issue, that report was released on the press release. It's for the consumption of public. No, it is. It is, and even in Kano, we did a number of times. Even about, I think less than 2 months ago, we did a press briefing here. We disclosed how much we recovered in Kano. No, honestly, you have not been following us. In terms of recovery and convictions, no, I don't think it would be fair to say FCC is not
disclosing. We are saying you are too secretive. Because we are working with you. If really
what I'm saying,
Kano office could
if you ask a question, maybe if you ask the FCC to tell you things about case that's under investigation, I don't think FCC will just avail you with that information when the case is still maybe under investigation, not even in court. But I don't think you are being fair to FCC to say that we are not disclosing our recoveries.
Idris, on monthly basis, NDLA, they hold press conference, and during the press conference, they will invite civil society organizations, the media, and everybody. They will sometimes showcase some of the things that they have been founded within that month, and they will tell the public everything, and the civil society organization will be there anytime.
Okay,
but you have never invited us to do that.
What I'm saying, what I'm trying to tell you now is that the civil society and the NDLA and other law enforcement agencies, they have different policies from the EFCC. The EFCC has only one spokesperson.
property
in Abuja.
And I think the point being made by the civil society is the need for EFCC to enhance its level of engagement, public engagement. And I think those of you who are in the department should just take note that there is some discontent, you see, from the EFCC regarding revelation and regular periodic revelation.
Yes, okay. We are actually improving in that, because even my being here is part of that improvement. Before, if you need information about EFCC, you have to go to Abuja or you have to call Abuja. We don't send people from the zones to say anything about the affairs of EFCC. Only Wilson and the executive chairman, that's the spokesperson and the chairman, have the authority to talk about the activities of EFCC. But we are improving. No, seriously, we are. We used to hold press briefing now. My presence here is part of it, because before, even if you send the invitation, we will have to send it to Abuja. It will take about 1 week, and this invitation will go to yesterday. So if you want our presence to any of the event, you have to send it maybe 2 weeks to the time, because you have to send it to Abuja to get authorization. We have to send it to the spokesperson, to the director, to the secretary, maybe to the chairman. Then it will have to go through that process before we are allowed to come here. So when I say we are improving, we are improving.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Okay. But the issue of recovery, even recently, I think you must have read that report.
So please take note of that. Like I said, when next you want to do this kind of things, making family community discoveries, please involve civil society so that at least we can serve as ambassadors. At every kind of forum we get ourselves, we can disclose the same information related with other people. So we'll be helping you at least maybe doing your job on your own behalf, even in your absence.
Yes,
that is the essence of involving the civil society organizations and the public.
They can even involve the media house.
And the media.
Yes, every time we are listening a press briefing, we always invite the media house.
The should be inclusive too.
Okay. The observation is noted. But when we say press briefing, I think the word press means we are inviting press, not civil society. Maybe we will have to reorganize and augment another word. What else? Is there anything I did not?
Non-payment of salaries.
Payment of salaries.
Non-payment of salaries. You made mention issue of a pension again.
Pension, yeah.
And salaries.
I think on that issue we have to. I have not seen any petition from Kano office that says that. And if the state government is not paying salaries, we cannot prosecute governor while he's on sick.
No, you cannot do anything.
No, we do investigate. But until after they are out of office, that's when we proceed with the prosecution.
How about engaging with the women groups?
Yes, we have a one program, Women Against Corruption. We had one in Abuja, I think about a year or two ago, and we had one in Enugu. We were supposed to have one in the Northwest. I think we have started the process. They send the documents to us, we reply them to the head office. But let me just tell you that we are still in the process. That we are going to launch a Women Against Corruption program in the Northwest. And I am going to work it now.
And invite other.
Yes, we invite everybody. The Women Against Corruption is a very huge program. Yes. It's a very huge program, the one we did in Abuja. I think that would be all, huh?
Yes.
No, we thank you very much for the response. This program is supposed to round out by 1 p.m. Of course, we started late, but let's not overstretch the EFCC.
Of course, really. Yes,
they are done justice.
It's just an citation.
Yes.
Just throw a citation. Because we have issue of this estimated billing.
Estimated power holding.
Yeah, for power holding.
Is that an economic sabotage?
Yeah, it's sabotage. It is.
Okay, maybe we need to take the right
decision.
decision.
When they say that should not be paying, because one should not be paying. Hence, you don't have that reading meter.
Probably if Dr. Jaffer is his area of specialization, he is a member of the Electricity Consumer Forum, he is their legal advocate and the secretary of the forum and so many other things. I'm sure he will be in a position. After all, we have taken the lawyers. Every blame is on the lawyers. The sons, the alleged to collude, compromise with looters, collect all the money, delay tactics in dispensation of justice. Why are lawyers doing all this?
I think it is important for us to appreciate one thing.